Welcome back, thanks for tuning in. We're on to part 3 for this project. This is going to be a screw caddy. It's going to, at this point, be a shell with 16 different compartments in it. And into those compartments, I am going to make and insert 16 different acrylic drawers. And that's going to allow me to organize and contain all in one spot all the different screws I need. Currently, they're in a number of different toolboxes and bags. And it's just time consuming trying to find them, and every now and then one of those little plastic containers pops open and I have to go and clean up all of them in the bottom of the bag. So in part 2 I had made all the different dividers and I had made a little mistake. I had cut them not allowing for the grooves, so they're all off by about 1/4 of an inch. So I remade those. You saw them in the last clip, and now what I need to do is make the center cut. So the center cut's a little bit different. All the end ones were just simply measure from the end and go over, and then that was perfectly fine. But the center one actually does have to be in the center. So instead of moving it over 1/4 of an inch, I just moved it over 1/8, and then as you saw there, I flipped it, and now we have a nice center divider. So this is not glued together yet. I think I showed this clip at the very beginning of the first of these, and it's just all held together loosely by dowels and friction. And now what I need to do is do the big glue up and get everything solid, because once the shell's done I can move on to a few other things that I need to do. It's going to need a handle, of course. It's going to need a drawer, like a sliding cover to keep everything in place, and then of course it's going to need all the drawers, and that's going to be in the next hopefully 1 or 2 videos. I apologize for these being a little lengthy, but I don't want to remove too much material or speed it up too much so you can't really see the details. I'm pretty sure I'll get it done by video 5, and then we'll see how it all works out. I will definitely be using this, and I'll give you an update on it. I do plan on actually doing some updates on some of the other projects I've made, just to let you know which ones I find useful, which ones were just, fun to make, and now it's just gathering dust somewhere. That'll be coming up hopefully sometime before the end of the year. So all this is glue in the joint, glue in the dowel, press it into place. I made these dowels a little bit loose because by the end of it all, if you have even just the slightest amount of deflection, warping, that sort of thing, it is just not going to fit in properly. And I don't want to do too much pounding on this. I want it to fit as evenly, as smoothly as possible. So now I'm just going to fit all the the dividers in this time, because actually without any issues whatsoever. I won't show it all to you because it is relatively lengthy. But one of them here kind of illustrates the point I just made a few moments ago. These are all cut at the same time. They're all put in the same setting on the saw. It was all the same stop and everything else, but you'll notice my right hand there at the top of the screen, it is just ever so slightly proud of the side of the drawer. That's going to be the top. And it is very, very minor, but sometimes when you're cutting, in this case, a bunch of different pieces, one was not quite held perfectly in place, and it was just a little bit out of square. But because towards the bottom of the screen is the actual bottom of the device, it didn't matter. I just flipped it over and it was perfectly fine. So here's the last one, sliding in and getting it all properly adjusted. There you go. That was a very good moment for me, making sure it all fit properly. Now all I need to do is glue up and tap on the bottom. Sorry, this is actually just one of the sides. My bad. But anyways, like I said, it went together really well, and this style of build is not very difficult to do. And the only actual concern I had, and this is actually going to be in the next video, I was trying to figure out how to put a nice handle on this. There's so many different ways I could do it, and I did finally pick one, but I don't want it to be too ugly and bulky, so I am going to use dowel still. I want to stick with that. There's not going to be a single screw in this whole thing, so we'll see how rugged they are, considering the amount of abuse I'll be putting it to and the amount of weight it's going to carry. So that's actually one of the other things I'm kind of interested in, to see how this actually does work out. And you can see my thing I mentioned earlier, the fact that I didn't want to make these too tight. And you see, one or two of them I actually do have to pound in, and that was the reason for that, just to make sure that if it were off by a bit, if it's loose, it just goes in tight, and then if it were tight to begin with, some of them may not actually go in, and I have to ream them out with a, see, that one there is the worst. I'd have to ream them out with a drill, and I didn't want to do that. So anyway, it all worked out perfectly fine, and you see the last one goes in, and then all we need to do now is put this on its front, and I'm going to put the cut and of course put the bottom on once this thing cures, of course. So I'm going to clamp that up, square it up, and then in the next clip we're going to see putting on the back for this, which is the last major structural part I have to do for the shell. Once the shell's done like this, just a matter of a bunch of sanding, and of course getting the handle made, the front drawer, and then of course we'll move on to the final thing, the actual important bit, is the containment for the screws. So that's going to be, believe it or not, because they work an awful lot with acrylic, that's going to be a little monotonous, I suppose, but it's not going to be a difficult part. It's going to go quite quickly as far as getting it all set up. And then that'll be it. This will be done. So hopefully that'll be by video 5. This video ended up being almost 12 minutes long, so I didn't want to go too much further into this. And in the next one, I did change how I wanted to do the handle for this twice, I think. And I just didn't want to cut all that out. I want to show you the details of that as well. So there you go. This is square, and now it's just a matter of putting the back on. Again, very straightforward. The one thing I did differently, you'll see when I was letting the glue cure, I had put the back on this, and you can see there's 2 holes on one side, 2 holes on the other side, and that was to help keep it all square. I'm not actually going to put it set up so that I'm using those holes on the actual frame and the back for the holes that that they were originally drilled for. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to flip it 180, and I'm going to drill fresh holes for both of them. To tell you the truth, the real reason is not much, but I noticed there was a tiny deflection, maybe 30/2 of an inch, and I didn't want to do too much sanding. That was the only reason for it. Otherwise, it fit perfectly. So you're going to notice when I drill the first set of holes that the drill is going to go through very, very easily, and that's because it is now, once I go through the 1/4 inch ply, it's just drilling into a void. You can see here in a second. It's going to go, and then it's going to pop through. And that's how close it was. There's no real difference, except, like I said, that 30/2 of an inch. And like I said, it was just done because I didn't want to do any extra sanding. No other reason than that. So I'm going to pop these in. I'm not going to show all of it to you because, well, it is roughly exactly the same as everything else I've done so far. I did mess up on one of these as far as the depth of the hole goes, because unfortunately I didn't remember while I was doing this that the original holes I had set up without using the little piece of tape I was using as my depth guide, because I was just setting these up just temporarily, just to get everything in place, and I want to make sure that the dowels were proud of the holes. That way I can pull them back out. And that's it. That was the only reason for that, and I forgot to drill that one again. Again, not a big deal. I'll just cut that off and sand it down, and it's obviously more than strong enough. So that's basically all there is to this. I'm going to finish this one up, and then I'm going to show you, I think, the last 2. And then, yeah, just going to put some weights on this, let it cure overnight, and then the shell's basically done. There's 1 or 2 more things I need to do with the shell. You'll notice in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see the groove going through. When I did these on the table saw, they just cut straight through, so a few of them will show up as, just little rectangular holes, and I'm going to fill those and sand them down, just to make it look nicer. I tend to, on projects like this, go a little bit overboard on its well, just this aesthetics. I don't really need to do any of this. Oh, this is another important bit. There's the depth guide, and I'm just showing you the part that I missed in that first one. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to fill them up. I'm going to sand it all down. I'm going to put, obviously, a coat of protective oil on this, because otherwise it's going to get, well, it's going to get wet and it's going to get dirty. And the protective oil will just keep it in reasonable condition longer, that's all. So there you go. That's all settled up now. I just need to put some weights on this, toolboxes, and that's just going to hold it all in place while it cures, and that's it. So thank you very much for watching. Leave comments. Let me know if I'm putting too much detail into these builds. And also, you know, if you have ideas for other projects, stuff you'd like to see. Most of the time what I do is I build what I need, but every now and then it's fine to do a fun project that has nothing to do with necessity, but just something of interest. And by the way, I have not forgotten about the drum sander. It's going to go on my milling machine. It was just something I kept changing my mind about how I wanted to do the final bits, but I think I've finally got to that, and it'll be the next project I'll be doing after this one. So there you go. There's the shell. You can see the little holes I have to fill. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.